Hello, beloved, and welcome back to Simple Life Chronicles, where we share our practical country life to encourage and edify you. My name is Aisha, and in today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about this small improvement to my garden space here, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it in case it's something that you'd like to use in your garden. All right, so I made myself a promise that this year, no more new garden spaces. So I'm only working on improving the garden spaces I have. I may extend some of them a little bit or change their shape, but no brand new garden spaces. Even though it's really easy for me to do that, I think I've gotten to the place where all the expansions from last year are a little overwhelming. So we're just going to try to improve and streamline and make sure that we're taking care of what we already have before we try to go any further as far as adding growing spaces. So this is actually a planter that I have been wanting to build for a long time, and for whatever reason I didn't ever get around to do it, but it's really easy to build, and so I'm actually going to take it apart to show you how to do it yourself. Okay, so now that everything is disassembled, you can see I have 4 terracotta pots, and these are just pots that I had laying around. I had used them multiple times over, but their real purpose in being here was to be used for this planter in the first place. So to get started, the first thing that you're going to need is a piece of rebar. So we purchased this rebar from Lowe's. You can purchase it from any regular hardware store. If you purchase it from Lowe's or Home Depot, they can actually cut it for you. So they actually cut the rebar in half for us. So I have 2 of these. If I decide to make another planter like this, I can just get the other half and pound it into the ground. So once you have your rebar, you're going to want to pound that into a ground using a mallet or a hammer. I used this one. It worked just fine. And so I'm just going to pound this stake a couple more times, and you'll probably still be able to see it out of the top of the planter, which is fine with me. If you want to be really precise about this, you can measure each of the pots that you're going to use and make sure that the rebar that's left standing out in the ground is equal to the height of the pots, one on top of another. I'm not interested in being that precise. I plan on putting things in this planter that are going to overgrow the rebar, and you probably won't ever see it until the winter time. So I'm okay with the rebar showing a little bit in my design here. Once that's all set, normally you would have empty pots to start with. Because I already built this planter, the pots are already full. So if you just so happen to have some pots that are full of potting soil, you can still do this. So that's what we're going to do right now. So this next pot, I'm going to angle a little bit. Now, if you were putting empty pots on, then obviously you would be um, filling each pot. As you put one pot on, you'd fill it and then add the next pot. But for me, since my pots were already full, I'm just putting them back on with the soil in them. There's no plants in there yet, so it's very easy to do so. And we're just gonna put this last one on, and then I actually do have a plant to put in one of the pots. So we'll get that going as soon as this pot goes on the top. All right, so now that we have each of the pots exactly kind of in the position I want them in, I'm actually going to be planting today some mint. This is actually some mint that my grandmother gave me from her house in Connecticut. And it's been in this plastic container. This is actually a recycled vinegar bottle. I bought some white vinegar for cleaning from Dollar Tree over 2 years ago. And when we finished the vinegar, I rinsed it out, cut the top off, and I used it for a small planter. So there are lots of inexpensive ways to have pots for your plants if you need them. So I'm going to just put these in one of these pots here, and we'll actually be started with our garden. These pots are actually filled with compost that we made here. If you're interested in making your own compost, you can check out that video. I'm going to put a card up for you. But this is a really inexpensive way to add a little interest to this area. As you can see, I've got the bird bath here. And then I'll add some other fun things to the other pots to keep the mint company. But I've just added some interest and some hopefully some interesting pops of color and some variety to my garden without adding any new garden beds. And so I'm really excited about that, and I'm glad that you came to join me. Let me get these in there, and I hope that this was helpful to you. And if you've actually built something like this, I'd love to see it. Go ahead and drop a pic in the comments, or share some of your ideas. What would you do different if you were going to take on something like this? Look at those roots all along the bottom. And you can see that the plant wants to spread. So we're going to put it in the pot and let it fill up in there. All done.